my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. RUMERTIME.
The first class was exciting, eye-opening, and refreshing.
My first class was informative and also fun and heartfelt.
The past 2 days were amazing.
The biggest walk away today was Q-tip it. Quit taking it personal. I memorized that.
To only think of thoughts. I choose to only think kind thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. RUMERTIME, reflect. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. RUMERTIME, reset. RUMERTIME. I choose to only think of thoughts. I choose to only think kind thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. RUMERTIME, reflect. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. RUMERTIME, reset. RUMERTIME.
Well, hello everyone. Hello. Welcome to season 4 of the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast. We are so excited to be here again to welcome you, our listening and viewing audience. We missed you. The last episode we had was in May. That was the end of season 3. And we are back, season 4, to talk some more about mental health. And we're gonna be talking with some guests, some esteemed guests this afternoon. And so I am Dr. Laria, and I again excited to be here. I am in South Bend, Indiana, and the rest of the team will introduce themselves. The host.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Geneva Fleming, bringing you greetings from South Carolina, and just want to welcome you back to season 4. Welcome, and especially to our AAA guests that we have here today.
AAA, I like that, Geneva.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Kellybrew, and I want to give a hearty welcome back to season 4. We had a great last season, and we are looking forward to having a great season this 4th season. And so we are starting it out with some wonderful guests this evening. And so again, we are excited to see you back with us, and we are excited to be back.
Awesome. And so I want my guests, as Geneva said, AAA G. I would like them to introduce themselves.
I'll start. I'm the first of the AAA. I'm Addison Goodman. I'm an elementary art teacher for a public school system here in Florida. I teach grades K through 5, and a lot of my students fall below the poverty line, and students come from difficult backgrounds and home lives. and I get to be a blessing to them firsthand in the art room, and just make them feel warm and welcome whenever they're in the classroom. Because they face a lot of challenges at times that adversely impact their emotional and mental health. I try to be a resource to them on a daily basis in a small way, but I hope an impactful way. But I'm just here to discuss how I can better serve and connect with my students and empower them going forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Autumn. Thank you. Next.
I'll go next. I'm the second of the triple A's. My name is Addison. I'm a senior in college. I'm studying government computer science, so I kind of am looking into the ways that social media affects the way the general populace in the U.S. Move through their civic duties. I'm at a small private school in Washington D.C. And through my time in high school and college, me and my friends have had a lot of experiences with emotional and mental health challenges. And I'm here to share my experiences and gain more understanding from our experts.
Which you guys are the experts on your own stories. Welcome, Addison. Alexis?
Hello, I'm frozen, but I'm here. I'm Alexis. I'm the third of the triple A's. I'm currently a junior in college, and I'm a student athlete. So I play volleyball. Yeah, I haven't been playing that long, but I've made it this far. So I've had my struggles, but I'm here still standing.
Still standing. That's right. Still standing. Welcome to you all. Welcome to you all. So now we are going to where we're missing one of our hosts, but she is enjoying her birthday weekend. So maybe she may join us, maybe she may not. That's Laverne Shaw Bailey. So if she does, we would always welcome her. And if she's unable to, we wish her happy birthday. All right, so let's move into our education segment. So we're going to still have the same format where we do the first 15 minutes is education on what GC Squad is about and what we do here. All right. So this is our fourth season, as it says. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so we always start with a prayer, and it's the RUMERTIME prayer. So if you can see the screen, you can read or just listen along as I pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for this Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast. We thank you for allowing us to be chosen to be here because we are special and we matter to you. We pray that you would help us to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions that are helpful, kind, wise, uplifting, and courageous. We pray that all who watch and listen now and in the future would experience renewed minds, transformed lives, and they would be empowered to create safer and socially connected communities wherever they are. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. So who is GC Squad? For some of our new viewers, GC Squad stands for Global Center for Systemic Change, Outcomes, Research, Evaluation, and Development. And we are revolutionizing mental health. Basically, I'm not even going to say we're trying to, we are going to, we are present tense. That's what we do. Okay. So we're revolutionizing mental health with innovative neuroscience-based programming that promote emotional resilience and mental well-being. Through our AMHERS division. AMHERS stands for the Institute for Mental Health Education, Relationship Strategy, and Relationship Strategies Strategies division. We offer a board certified life and relationship coaching program alongside other transformative courses that empower individuals to lead more balanced and purpose driven lives. Our Lowe's division, Lowe's is the Listening Oasis Wellness Space. We deliver counseling, coaching, and consultancy services, always using the RUMERTIME process as our core strategy. We understand human nature and relationships through the lens of our Cultivating Seed System framework, ensuring holistic, culturally responsive support. And at GC Squad, we're dedicated to mind care for anyone, anytime, anywhere. Now you know.
And so we accomplish this by this mission. And the mission for GC Scored is to renew minds, transform lives, and create safer and more socially connected communities. And we accomplish this mission by two overarching goals. And the first goal is to increase access to the destigmatized and demystified prevention intervention strategy known as the RUMERTIME process that you just heard Dr. Larry mention. And we do this so that individuals in diverse settings, both locally and globally, they can become conscious problem solvers and empowered life coaches as they acquire healthy markers. You will learn more about healthy markers. And our second goal is to engage, educate, equip, and empower individuals to effectively utilize relationship cultivation skills to renew their minds, transform their lives, and create safer and more socially connected communities.
Awesome.
And so we do this through relationships. So we have a relationship capacity cultivation, and that is cultivating is the process of developing and strengthening the markers that individuals in homes, schools, workplaces, communities, organizations, and institutions need to survive, thrive, flourish, adapt, and grow in a fast changing world. And markers, our definition of markers mean our mindset, the activities we engage in, the relationships that we engage in, the knowledge that we have, education, the resources, and strategies.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, how do we do that? We do that through a process called RUMERTIME. And so, what is our RUMERTIME process? It is a 5-step neural cycle, culturally conscious, inclusive, and responsive prevention intervention strategy that is used to engage, educate, equip, and empower individuals to move from and intrapersonal imbalance to and intrapersonal balance, and from subconscious living to conscious living.
Awesome. And so, how do we see mental health? So here is GC Score's mental health manifesto. We view mental health from a social, ecological, cognitive, behavioral, emotional, and spiritual perspective. We believe that to achieve intra and interpersonal balance, we must intentionally and consciously integrate the roots, relational capacity building skills, the social determinants of mental health, and resources at home, school, work, and community in order for healthy growth and development to take place or to occur. We interpret many symptoms and behaviors, feelings, labels, and diagnoses. We interpret these as fruits, outgrowths, and manifestations of activities happening at and around the root level. So, mind care. Our theme for this season is mind care. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. Okay? So, what is mind care? We define mind care as a holistic, accessible, and proactive approach to caring for one's mind rather than simply addressing issues when they arise. We're not going to go into a lot of detail this evening, but mind care described is anyone, anywhere, and anytime is able to access this universal concept, not just a concept, but it is embedded in the RUMERTIME process. So it moves from concept to reality to practice, right? And it is scalable regardless of your station in life and regardless of your circumstances. Um, it's also a concept or a reality or a practice, right? It's a practice that is not just relegated to clinical settings or in moments of crisis, but it can be experienced in everyday environments and throughout your daily routines. It also encourages a broader understanding of what it means to support your emotional and psychological well being. So it is all inclusive. Everyone is able to experience mind care. If we go back to that one slide, right, understanding that um, once you learn how to do the RUMERTIME process, you are able to then be your own, as it said in the definition, be your own coach, be your own mind care person. We have a quote in GC Score that says, as air is to life, right, Geneva? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, social emotional or relationship cultivation skills to our breathing. It is the air we breathe.
It is every breath.
And it's like the same way we take care of our physical being, and we take showers, we brush our teeth, we exercise, we sleep. Those are physical ways, what we call that physical hygiene, right? We also have mental hygiene. And that is what mind care is about, making sure that you don't wait till you're in a crisis, but you're doing the everyday activities to take care of your mind. And so today we're going to be talking some more about that. So we're not going to go to the other slides. So this ends our education segment. And we're going to get started hearing from these amazing women. And so I want to start off with, I know we didn't talk about this in the pre-show, but I want to start off giving some key findings from Mental Health America, the State of Mental Health in America, the 2024 report. And here is some information. 23% of adults experienced a mental illness in the past year, which is equivalent to nearly 60 million Americans. 5% of adults and 13% of youth reported experiencing serious thoughts of suicide. In 2022, it was reported the highest number of deaths by suicide ever recorded in the US. And some other really staggering data here. 1 in 5 youth had at least, this is for 2024, 1 in 5 youth had at least one major depressive episode in the past year. Over half of these youth which is nearly 3 million youth, did not receive treatment. And of those who received treatment, only 65% said it helped them. Okay. Then there's another statistic here. 18% of adults in the US had a substance use disorder in the past year. 77% of that 18% did not receive treatment. One in four adults with frequent mental distress could not see a doctor due to cost, a 2% increase over the last report. 10% of adults and 8.5% of youth still have private insurance that does not cover mental health. There are 340 people for every one mental health provider in the US. So this kind of gives us a backdrop of our discussion and the need for mind care. The need, exactly, right? Doing the physical, doing the mental work, doing the emotional work of caring for your mind, and not waiting till a crisis occurs, or you have a mental health challenge, or you're in distress, or you're in psychological distress. So given that background, we then want to move into a part of the discussion that we did talk about, and it's somewhat loosely based on the book The Anxious Generation: Rewiring, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. Okay, and the author is Jonathan Haidt. Okay, The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. At the top of the when we were prepping, the question that we asked the ladies was what? What was the question that we started off with these ladies?
How old are they, or were they, when they received their first smartphone?
Right. How old were you when you received your first smartphone?
I'll start because I think I was the first of the three of us to get a smartphone. I was in high school and I shared it with my brother.
And I actually got one the same year.
14. Oh, you did?
I did too, actually.
We all got it.
I was 14.
The same year.
And I think I was 15. Yeah, my first year of high school.
Yeah. You got yours in freshman year in high school, Autumn?
Yeah, so I was 14.
Okay. And Addison and Alexis, you got yours the same year too?
Yes.
I think I was like 9. However old I was when Autumn was 14. I don't remember. I just think I was like 9. I was going into 3rd grade. I was going into 3rd grade when she was going into her freshman year of high school.
Yeah, you were 8, turning 9 that year.
Yeah, 8. So I got my first phone, like smartphone with a screen, when I was 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our dad was deployed when we were in Arizona. So I got a phone and Fred and Autumn got a phone because we're at different schools, and my mom needed to communicate with us, but they were like black books, or mine was green. And then we moved to California. We're all at different schools, so we got phones that year. So we all got phones. Fred and Autumn at the same school, so they shared a phone. I got a phone at a different school, and Alexis got a phone at a different school than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So prior to getting the phone, all right, what did you guys do for entertainment? How did you guys enjoy each other's company? What did you guys do in terms of building relationships with each other and others outside of your home? What was your main way of interacting?
I feel like we used to just play outside. Like, we were just always outside, like in the yard, or like on our little Barbie cars, or we'd go to this water park across the street. I just feel like we were always outside doing something. or Addison and I were playing Barbies inside the house.
Okay.
Or we play
Okay.
with Legos, or we would draw, or
Mhm.
color, or play Uno, play board games,
Right.
things like that.
Also, there are 4 of us, so it wasn't hard for us to like entertain each other inside or outside of the house.
Mhm.
So I mean, we did the same when we got our phones, but it was just board games and like outside. Like we spent a lot of time outside.
Mhm. Mhm. So would you say that your Jonathan Hayes talks about um phone based childhood and play based childhood, right? Phone based childhood is where you spend most of your time on a screen, right? And while you're doing that, you're developing and growing, and you're beginning to take on the identity of the things and the people you see on the phone or on screen, on social media. Play-based childhood is what you guys did, right? What you guys did. And so would you say that most of that developmental time as you were growing up, before you got your phones and even after you got your phones, was play-based? Play-based is where you're doing what you guys did as children. Would you say that that is where most of your interaction and play came from?
I would say yes, because we didn't have like social media or anything like that. We just kind of had like our parents' phone numbers. So, which is what we had on our other phones, except now we could like, play games obviously. So like most of we was play based with adding our phones in. So we used to use our dolls and like make videos for like our mom. Like we did a lot of like,
Okay.
using our phones to cuz we didn't have like there was nobody to talk to on our phones. So it was either our mom or using it to like play something we already had.
Right.
So yeah.
Awesome. So your childhood was play based.
For the most part, yeah. I would
Yeah,
say
and
so.
yeah. And so you did not your social development, your emotional development, your physical development, your cognitive development was not necessarily rewired with the introduction of social media.
I would say, because for me, even though I got the phone when I was still a child, like technically that was still my childhood because I was 8.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
like even though I got the phone when I was 8, I wasn't on my phone like how I am now because I didn't need it for anything really. I was
Right.
8, so when I was done with school, my mom just picked me up and I went home, and I wasn't like on my phone in the car. The other thing is like we had the phones just a phone, not to like be on the phone. So like I had the
Right.
phone, and the only time I played games on my phone was after school when I was waiting to get picked up, and I was
Because we
playing
got the
like,
phones taken when we got
yeah, I
back
was
home.
playing Minecraft or whatever with my friends on the phone after school. And then when we got in the car, we got our phones taken and we were given a book to read on the way home. And then when we got home, we didn't get our phones back. So like we weren't the phone was literally just there to be a phone, not to be anything other than a device to
Right.
communicate. Like,
Right.
so all throughout, like when we lived in California, when I got my phone is when we were in California, when we all got our phones. I wasn't using my phone for anything but like at school was when I was playing, and then at home, I wouldn't even use my phone to make videos of my Barbies. I would use like my iPad or my mom's iPad. So like I really was not using my phone. And like when I got older, like after we were like after I was like technically out of my childhood, I feel like it depends on when your childhood ends. Like when do you say that your childhood ends? Because
Right.
when I was 13, to me 13 I was still a child. Like I was
Yeah.
still technically a child, but then like now I'm around people who are older than me. I'm not around like people, like we're not all the same age. Like there's people who are older than me in my school. So like now I have the phone. I use my phone now for like social media. But when I get home, my mom takes my phone. Like my phone has to be on the counter at 10 p.m. So like
Right.
I wasn't, even then I still wasn't like using my phone for social media. media, but the point of did it change like my cognitive, all that, like my development at all? I feel like it started to change my development when I was in high school, and even though that's kind of late, it still was changing who I am, and because I was still developing in high school, I'm still developing now.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
like I feel like for me personally, I don't consider like my very young years as like my core development years. I consider like from 13 to now, I feel like I'm still like figuring out who I am. And I feel like my core years was from like 13 to like 17. So like those were my years that I was, and I do think that at that point, though, that time from 13 to 17, my phone was definitely influencing how I was developing. But
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. Can you give us an example, one or two examples, Alexis,
Yes.
of how that has impacted
yes,
you
actually,
and your
because
development?
I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. Like when I moved from California to Florida, when Addison and I like left by ourselves, and she was at a new school, I was no longer with anybody in school, and I was in seventh grade. I went from sixth grade to seventh grade, and to me, like I went from playing with Barbies, like I was still playing with Barbies in sixth grade in California, and then like over the summer I went to seventh grade, and now we all have phones. Everybody has a boyfriend. We're like taking selfies and we're on Snapchat, and like that was just like a big like shift for me because I was literally playing with Barbies the summer before. Like during the summer I was playing with Barbies, and now I'm in seventh grade and people have boyfriends, and like that was like just a big shift for me. And like I was because I had a phone, and I was never like the phone was never for like social media. I wanted social media when I got to seventh grade because everybody else had it. And so my dad let me get social media. He made it for, or I think my Autumn made it for me, and he like ran it or something. Like he had all my passwords and stuff. So like even then, he didn't have the time to teach me how to use social media. So I've never been taught how to use social media. So like when I got to seventh grade, I was just like I never was like taught how to be online, and there's definitely like a way to be online, and I feel like that definitely impacted my interactions throughout seventh and eighth grade because people just didn't like me, which is fair because of how I just was, because I wasn't ever I never was like taught how to like be on social media, because like, and that's a big thing when you get to like I guess that's what
Middle
age
school.
is that?
That's middle school. Yeah,
Middle
that's
school. Yeah, that's like a big thing. Like everybody's on their phones, everybody's communicating back and forth. So like I was never taught how to be on social media. Now I know, obviously, because I've been doing it for a minute. But I feel like, yeah, that's just an example. Like the jump from sixth to seventh grade of having a phone but not using it for social media, and then being put on social media and not knowing how to use it. I feel like that was just like a big developmental thing that I had to go through and figure out basically on my own.
Yeah, and you know, in counseling and in mental health, we call that one of those critical or sensitive periods of development, and that is one of the things the book talks about. On page 59, Vanessa, it says, social media platforms are therefore the most efficient conformity engines ever invented. So there's conformist bias, and prestige bias, and Alexis, your experience is exactly what this book is talking about on that page. The ability to know how to be on social media and being pressured to be a certain way and to be there because your peers are on there. And because you didn't know how to do it, you said people didn't like you.
Right.
How that
They did not
influences
like me.
yeah, how it influences who you see yourself as.
Absolutely. And then the other piece, as I'm listening to Alexis
Mm-hmm.
saying that she was never taught how to use social media because, because everybody else is doing it, right? So I'm wondering about that everybody else. How much of that was actually real and how much was perceived? Somehow I just believe you were not the only one who were not taught how to use social media. So
Right.
we have a lot of novices, getting on board with social media without being taught, without understanding how to engage and about cyber safety and all of that kind of stuff,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
To your point, Dr. Fleming, I would say that when I was in high school, when my brother and I started high school, we shared a phone, and that was in like 2011, I think, 2011. Yeah, 2012 maybe. And 2012. Yes. And people were on social media that were our age in high school. But it was just like not really a safe space because people, like Alexis was saying, were not like teaching young people how to be on social media and how, what to say, what not to say, what to post, what not to post. And we were taught nothing about social media until maybe like a couple years later when in the beginning of the school year, we would have like forums and things talking about how to find your classes and what courses you're taking and how to be kind to other people at school and things like that. But then they started introducing courses and little like TED Talks almost about how to be safe online and how to make good decisions over text and how you have a digital footprint and everything is monitored and no such thing as a private account. Everything is public, like your information's out there kind of thing. It was a little scary, but that we were using social media and they knew that we were, our brains were still developing because we're 14, 15 and hormones are raging and things like that. So they took it upon themselves, I think, to make sure that we had a semi-stable foundation of understanding when it came to using social media. And I remember we would have, like, throughout the year, we would have little forums that we could attend that were discussing social media etiquette and things like that. And I thought it was a little, like, kind of in your face if I were to think back on it, because, like Alexis said, we didn't have our phones as a way of like entertaining ourselves. We had our phones because we needed to communicate with our parents or with each other. And when, like Alexis was saying, when we got picked up from school, we started reading in the car on the way home. We got home, our phones went on the counter, we did our homework, washed the dishes, went to bed. Didn't watch TV during the week, didn't do anything like that. No media during the week. We would, read
At
or
all.
ride and play. Yeah, things like that to keep our minds like growing at the pace that they should be growing.
Right.
And later on, like in my high school experience and my brother's high school experience, because we were in the same grade for the most part, social media became more of like a in your face kind of thing, and people were sharing, oh, you have to join this Facebook group to post like your prom dress, so make sure nobody has the same prom dress, or like you have to buy your tickets online for the basketball game, or you have to follow our Instagram page so you know what's happening for homecoming week, like things like that. So social media became more of like a in your face kind of thing. But because our parents are not really big like social media people, my mom does not have a social media account and probably never will on any platform. Extremely anti. Does not really like understand and chooses not to understand, because she's like, well, if I want to talk to people that I care about, I'm just going to call them or go visit them or text them or email them or write them a letter or send them a picture, a postcard, whatever. I'm not going to post this picture online of me eating food at this restaurant that everybody knows about for anybody to see. And, like, I don't care. She doesn't care about things like that. So she was never like a proponent of social media.
In the first place.
That's definitely played into how we were raised around social media and around our phones. She didn't feel like phones were a necessity. They were just a means of communication, and that's how it was supposed to be. So that's how it was.
Good. Okay.
I absolutely love your parents' parenting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, Vanessa, what was the?
Well, Go on,
Go
go
ahead.
on.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I have a question before that I think will move us into
Okay.
where you were trying to lead me. And
Mhm.
it's just a simple question. I wonder, like, did you have friendships before you received your smartphone? So I know that you said that when you were younger, you all played together, right? Did you have friendships outside of your family?
Oh yeah, we definitely did. We had a big community wherever we lived. Found community, found friends at school, at church, after school program, things like that. Addison, you were gonna say?
And so, what I'm wondering is how those friendships have changed, right? Since now, Alexis, you talked about like this shift that happened when you moved or got into, I think, high
Second,
school. What,
yeah. From
Middle
is that
sixth
right?
school.
to
Middle
seventh
school.
grade.
Seventh
Middle school.
grade, right? So
Mhm.
there was this shift that happened. And so I really am interested in knowing if you noticed a shift in your relationships with people or uh, even how they related to you.
I feel like when I think about it, I don't like, okay. So sometimes I'll say like I don't have friends, which is not true because I do have friends. But when I
Mhm.
think about like what a friend is, I don't have anybody that I could like be like, all right, let's go hang out all day, just me and you, and it's not going to be awkward. And I feel like between social media and how people communicate through social media and COVID, I was talking about it in my personal growth class because I'm a psychology major, so I'm taking a lot of like little different classes. And my professor, she was saying that she feels like since COVID, people just have stopped like just forgot how to communicate with each other. And
Mhm.
like because we didn't have to and we were communicating like online or whatever, it's like we just have forgotten how to like have effective communication, and we'd rather communicate over the phone or over text than like be in person. And then when it's in person, it's like awkward because there's no like, okay, I'll text you back later, like we're sitting in front of each other. So like you don't get to like think about, you don't need to take time to think about what you're gonna say next because you're not
Hey.
texting them, like you're sitting right in front of them. So I feel like I don't have friends, like close friends that I could say you would probably like jump in front of a car for me, or like we're like really close friends. I feel like the closest friends that I have are my siblings. And
Right.
like when I was in California, before I like had a phone and was on social media, I feel like I had like actual like genuine friends. And I don't know if it's because I was
Mm.
younger, but like my friend, like we hung out with each other like all the time. Like we would hang out after school, we would like
Mhm.
plan play dates. And I feel like it's shifted since I've gotten on social media because like now I don't really need friends. Like I don't need to hang out with people. Like if I really wanted to, I could never leave my room and I could still communicate with people. But I feel like it didn't used to be like that. So like I think it's shifted. The way that I form relationships has shifted because
Wow.
I don't want to say like I use like my phone as like a crutch, but I feel like everybody
Mm.
does kind of now because
Everybody does.
you don't have to. If you really don't want to, you don't have to. Like if you don't want to leave your room, you don't have to. If you don't want to take in-person classes, you don't have to. You can get your education without ever stepping into a classroom. So I think social media or just like being online and having like an online presence has definitely changed how my like what kind of relationships that I have with people, because it's no longer like an in-person like solid connection. Like we're seeing each other every day and we're BFFs. Now it's like I could see you once a year and like be okay with that. But like when I
Right.
was younger, if I saw you once a year, we wouldn't be friends anymore because like we wouldn't
Right.
have because now like I could not see you. I could see you once a year, but still know what's going on in your life because you post it on social media. But like back then, I could never see you, and I wouldn't know what you have going. I wouldn't even know if you're
Yeah.
like where you live, like if you even still live in down the street, like. So I don't know. I think that's changed it for me. I think Addison had something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so
Alison, what did you want to say?
Oh, sorry. I think I don't know. I thought.
I do have a question for you, Addison. During our pre-show, during the prep for the pre-show, we were talking, and you made a comment about social media being a monster, right? And so one of the things that we talked about is that so it is seen as this monster, right? Um, However, people continue to feed that monster, right? And so part of what the book also talks about is that when people are on these various platforms, that they are very intentional about like the message that they are putting out there. Like they're very strategic, so they are making sure they are putting the right pick on there. They're making sure if they are posting videos that it's the right video to show me in a certain way, or if they're making comments or using emojis, they have to make sure that it's the right thing to do. And so again, everything is just very strategic. And so I'm wondering if you can like tell us how, again, like what that says about the person who is posting, the identity, like how you see yourself versus how you believe other people see you.
I
And
mean,
not necessarily you, Addison, but
yeah.
you made a really, really strong point about how the pictures are curated for others.
Mhm.
I really want to hear you share that. I think it would be really beneficial for the listening audience and viewing audience.
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, I think earlier I was saying that social media, is a monster, and I think that I think like Autumn was saying earlier that her school had those info sessions to kind of like help students, with social media. But I think like social media has moved so fast that the way that we handle it is like triage. So like we're constantly trying to fix, like students are probably bullying each other. So then the school's like, okay, we need to fix this. But the damage is done. So it's like
Yes.
there's more and more that happens and the damage just continues to be done. And there's not really a way to like fix it because it just develops over the last thing that it started. And then you have to find new ways to combat that. And I think that that's kind of like what I mean when I say social media is a monster. Like it's one, it has a whole host of issues that it causes people that use it, but also it's hard to stop it because it's ingrained in everything. And I think that I was saying earlier that our generation, or at least a lot of people, register how bad social media can be. So we kind of have tried to like revert into like what it was originally, and like have like casual Instagrams and like low stakes, we have private accounts and low stakes interactions, but even those posts are carefully curated. We're like going through the slides like, oh, is this the right video, is this the right whatever, to be perceived as casual. And my mom always says, she always says perception is reality. So like the way that you are perceived realistically is as much as you think you're the nice person in the world. I might think that I'm saying something in a nice way. If the person that I'm interacting with perceives it as however, then that's their reality, and that's like kind of the way that we're going to continue to interact. And I think in social media it's the same experience. Like I might think that something that I post is I don't know, appropriate,
Benign.
benign. And someone else might feel like oh well, X is happening in the world and you're posting this right now, which means you don't care about Y. And it's like I think it makes it difficult to interact with social media without constantly being concerned about everything that you do. And I think you have to take yourself out of it, but it's very difficult to do when it's like you care about how you're perceived as a person, not because you're self-centered, but just because you don't want people to like hate you.
Yeah,
like at the bare minimum.
exactly. And so one of the things I was saying after that was in addition to the person posting and the psychological impact that has on them as it relates to how they show up, the detailed efforts that they're taking to appear a certain way affects them, and it's not just the it is not just having an impact on the people who view it, but it's impacting the people who are posting it,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
It makes you now have to psych yourself into being something, and sometimes not being honest with yourself, right? You Because you're sitting there contemplating, how can I appear casual but also, you know,
Effortless or
yeah, right? So it takes some brain power to do that, and that impacts your connection with reality.
I
Because
think
even Go ahead.
I think more than necessary. Like my sisters would tell you, like I don't post on Instagram. You know, Alexis and Autumn, they're very like Autumn, you know, went to study photography. She's very artistically talented. You know, she's very good at finding the right angle, the right what. You know, she just sees the world in a very beautiful way. And Alexis, I think, has that trait that they get it from our dad. But I'm not. That's just not my my thing. So I don't really post on Instagram. And my sister will tell you when I do, it's like 2 days of me like sending them like, is this the right song? Is this the right video? Is this the right clip? And it just stresses me out to a point that I just don't care enough to do it. Like, I don't like every time I post, I'm like, I don't like the amount of I have a homework assignment to do. The amount of mental effort it took for me to it's not worth it. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of like where I get every time I post. So I'm
Mhm.
like I'm very like I don't really use Instagram like that unless I'm like, you know, reposting something that they posted or taking a picture of like, you know, our you know, baby cousins. Like it's not like, you know, I think it's
Nothing
because
earth shattering.
yeah, it just takes too much mental effort. And I know the person that saw my post was like, oh, that's cute, and then moved on with their day. You know.
And so you're speaking from a position of analyzing the emotional energy and emotional bandwidth that it requires, and you are being honest, and like the rest of you are. Imagine the rest of the Gen Zers may not be as thoughtful, honest, and aware of the impact it is having on, like you said, Addison, this is too much. I have homework to do. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
There are some people who are not able to manage their thoughts and their interactions and their mindsets and their emotions as it relates to just posting and appearing casual.
And I'd like to add, Dr. Laria, and
Uh,
everyone else here, the work that we do with the RUMERTIME process, we look at everything in terms of fruits and
mhm,
root.
mhm,
And I can't help but imagine that Addison is having that response based on her early childhood experiences. The phone was for a particular purpose, it was for
exactly.
communication. Once we are connected, hey, put the phone on the counter, it's time to do something else.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
assimilating that to where you are right now, it is like, yeah, let me hold fast to those early childhood experiences that worked for me, that
mhm,
helped me to be productive. And instead of doing all of this, it's too much busy work. It's too much for
Yeah.
me to try to put in my schedule, right now.
mhm,
Takes too
mhm.
much thought.
I
Yeah.
think I think it also has to do with how you just like if you just take social media out of the equation and you
Mhm,
just look at how you go through your life and how you interact with people socially and all this other stuff, I feel like if you base it off of that as well, that is a big part of how you are, like what your social presence is online. Because I know like
mhm,
with like I'm not trying to call out my sisters. I'm not gonna call out my sisters. I don't know how to like. I don't know how to say what I'm saying without making it sound bad. But
Say it.
like, so like Autumn,
It's a safe space.
so Autumn has like a larger, out of the three of us, she has the largest social media following. And I think that reflects on how she is in her life, because I think the way that she goes through life, she wants to not in like a people pleasing way, but she wants to make sure that everybody knows she is, I don't know, like she wants to put her best face forward. Yeah, like she's a good person, and she is. It's not like she's faking it, but like you're gonna
She is.
know that she,
You
like
know,
she's gonna do
I'm gonna
whatever
say
you.
I'm a vouch for my girl Autumn. Okay,
Yeah.
before she was born and when she was growing up, that is Autumn. Autumn was always a sweet and just so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that has to do, like, she's always gonna like put her best face forward, no matter like what she's going through or whatever. And I think that reflects how she is on social media. Like, even if she doesn't feel like posting, she still might post something, or she's gonna figure something out. She's gonna take this picture. She's gonna, And now that's kind of like part of just like who she is, because she has such a big following. She kind of just has no choice now. She can't just leave her followers high and dry. But like, and then like, for example, like me versus Addison, I think I'm very like, I don't really care what people think of me. Like I will just act a fool. Like if you don't like me, then you do have to get over it. Like I'm not gonna conform to whatever you got going on because you don't like the way I'm acting. And I don't think Addison necessarily cares what people think, but I think she's more conscious. Like she doesn't want to like, I don't know, like she's not gonna, if she knows something's bothering you, she's not gonna keep doing it. Or like I'll notice if we're like out in public and like one of us is in the way, she's very like, get out the way. Like she doesn't like to inconvenience other people, and I think that's a good thing. And I think she's also like that on like, it reflects on how she is on social media, because like she's not that she's gonna inconvenience other people, but she's very conscious of how she's on social media, because like she's showing herself to everybody else. And like me, when I post on social media, I'm still conscious. Like I'm not gonna just whatever, because I still have to hold up my reputation and who I am as a person. But I think that when I do post, it's not like, it doesn't take a lot of thought. It's like, and there's no planning behind it. There's no like, it's just like, okay, I just saw this picture, I want to post it, and now I'm gonna post it. And like, if somebody says something, then I might rethink why I might have posted that. And I do that in real life too. Like I'm very indecisive, and it takes me a long time to make decisions in real life.
Okay.
So like once I've made a decision, if somebody questions that decision, now I'm like, okay, wait, should I have made that decision?
Did I make it right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like if it comes to social media, if I post something and then Autumn or Addison is like, why'd you post that? Then I'm like, why did I post that? And it's like, I think on social media, I'm a little bit more, like, I guess I'll say free, because I feel like it's not real. Like, it's not like, to me, social media is not real. Like I can post this, but you still don't know anything about me. So like, but I'm still like kind of self-conscious in that, where like, if you question the decision that I made, now I'm like, okay, why did I make that decision? Should I have thought about that decision before I made that decision? And I'm the same way in real life. So,
Right.
yeah.
So what you're saying is that with or without social media, your personality usually comes, not your particularly, but people's personality is usually there at the core or at the foundation, and social media somewhat either enhances it or magnifies it. Is that what you're
Right.
saying,
Right.
Alexis?
Yes.
Okay. And so I wonder in you guys' day-to-day interactions, Alexis, you as an athlete, Autumn as a art teacher, and Addison as a student, how do you see social media impacting your students, their families, and your peers, how do you see them showing up differently from you? Because you guys were not, I would feel safe to say that your brains were not rewired because of social media. At least during those critical or sensitive periods of your development, right? Alexis may have a little bit when she moved from sixth grade to seventh grade, but and a lot of that was more conformist and conformist bias based on, well, they were doing it and so feeling the pressure to do it. But how do you see yourselves? How do you see your peers, your students being impacted?
I would say that I would even venture to say that my formative years, like before high school, before getting a phone, were definitely impacted by my home life and hanging out with my siblings after school and our strict rules on media in the household during the week and on the weekends and during.
You sound like you're throwing some shade there. The strict
No,
rules.
no shade.
What?
Just
Implementing it for my kids.
definitely, just honesty. But let's. I would say that during that time, my social media, like, what's the word? Just like the influence that
Usage.
social media,
Uh-huh.
yeah, like the influence that it had on me was like little to none. But when
Mm-hmm.
social media became more of a in your face kind of thing, I was in my peer pressure years, which I don't know if those are considered formative, but my environment was definitely like a very, it was very social media driven, especially because it was new and it was like hot off the press kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when Addison was talking about
Inez Levy.
Instagram, for example, and how people are very like strategic about what they post and what they don't post and things like that, and how she just doesn't have the time and gets overwhelmed or just chooses not to post because it's not that big of a deal. I have become more like Addison in my like 20s now, but in
Oh,
high
okay.
school, I was definitely one of those people who was very strategic and very like I would get like stressed out or think that everyone's looking at me or everyone's gonna see this post at school and
Mm-hmm.
like worried about how many likes and how many views and how many this and how many that and
Wow.
who saw it and who shared it and all these things and who screenshot it and all that stuff. So my high school
So, so Autumn, let me ask you, as you look back on that now, as you reflect on that,
years.
what were the dominant thoughts and mindsets and emotions that you had? If you could reflect on what were some of the dominant thoughts and dominant beliefs about yourself and dominant emotions you had?
I feel like I was thinking about the way that my hair looked, my makeup, if I'm wearing makeup, not makeup, how my body looked, and comparing myself to other people,
Mm,
especially, people that were my age that were going to my school, but
mm,
also celebrities who had a huge influence on young teens and how we were
mm,
developing. Thinking, is this post good enough for me to share? If it didn't get a
mm,
certain amount of likes within the first hour, I'm taking it down because it's not good enough. Or if I posted something the night before or the day before, then going to school the next day and thinking like, oh, I remember that she liked it. I wonder what she thinks. Or I'm going to go talk to her because she liked my post. Or I'm not going to talk to
mm,
her because she didn't like my post. To the point where I would like post things on the weekend just to give
uh-huh,
myself a little like simmering time, so I didn't
uh,
have to think about all of the all of the thoughts surrounding the post at school the next day. I would
wow.
post, give myself Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then by the
Mm-hmm,
time Monday comes, I'm not it's not like as heavy on my heart. Like,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so it was definitely forming my like perception
Identity.
and my
Yeah.
identity. Yeah. Also because I'm like Addison said, I am like a people pleaser almost,
People,
which I
yeah.
don't think that's a negative thing. I don't see that as a negative thing. I definitely think that I want to be, I don't want to leave like a bad taste in anyone's mouth when they think about me. And I that like mentality in every aspect of my growing up and my development, and even now as a teacher. I try to positive impact, positive influence. And now that I have more of a following, Addison touched on it a little bit. I don't post things that are just like me having a pity party online. You know, like if something bad is happening in my life, I'm gonna try to take control over it, figure out how to work through it, but not post and be like, oh, I'm feeling sad today because XYZ, or these are all the list of bad things that happened in my week. You know, I'm gonna try to be lighthearted and positive and things like that because I want to put my best face forward. Yeah. So to answer your questions, I know I just blabbed a lot, but
no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You were answering because I asked multiple questions. So go ahead.
But to answer your question about how I see social media or comparing myself, my mindset growing up to the mindset of my students that I see, social media is a huge, huge factor in their daily lives. Whether it's their parents on social media, because a lot of their parents are my age or a little older. And so they're interacting with the same things I'm interacting with online. So they'll make certain references that are not necessarily age appropriate or things that I wouldn't think they would know about. Not necessarily inappropriate things, but things that as a 7-year-old, you wouldn't be thinking about, like makeup and skincare and all this other stuff. You would be thinking about, you know, your dolls or your Legos or what your favorite book is or favorite color or whatever. Not the things that I would be seeing online as a 25-year-old. And also with like the education aspect of it, I teach art, but I also incorporate literacy and STEM and math in my lessons. And at a certain age, you know, there's certain things that you would expect children to know, like what the 50 states are, or what continent we live in, or the difference between a state and a country and a city and a town, a district, things like that. And I feel like kids are not as privy to those type of things because of their lack of outside influences. And it's just social media. It's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, X, TikTok, everything under the sun. So, and those platforms are not teaching kids social skills, social emotional learning. They're not teaching mental health things, or, you know, how to read, or things like you know, history, or like your own history, or math. None of the things that they're learning in school are being reinforced after
on
school.
social media.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the difference between how we grew up and how they're growing up. It's the fact that social media is more in your face now. There's no escaping it. It's everywhere. QR codes at restaurants instead of like reading a menu, you know, or like everything can be scanned, or like whatever. So I think that is something that I've seen more heavily in the classroom, and how kids are just seemingly disassociated from one another, and they don't talk to one another unless it's about something that happened on social media or it's a trend.
Oh, really?
They're creating like this lingo that is based on social media with different words that have different meanings. Kind of like, you know, like in my parents' generation, like saying something that's like wicked is like cool, you know, or like, like that's a little different than like what something if that's actually wicked, which is like bad. Like it's different than that kind of lingo. It's like a complete language that just
wow.
And none of them,
Give me an example. Give us an example of something that they're saying now. I learned something this summer. I was doing I'll give you this example. I did a presentation at a day camp for young girls, and so one of the girls wrote on her paper, okay, she said the abbreviation for "I want to kill myself."
Oh.
And I didn't know, right? And so one friends said, I saw this and I was like, okay, what does that mean? She said, oh, that means she wants to kill herself.
Ooh.
And I was like, so this is the kind, and if her peer didn't tell me, I would just pass it over.
Yeah,
Right.
you wouldn't even know.
I would have no clue.
Yeah.
So
I
what are
feel
some
like-
of the other things, Autumn?
For example, like they have like non-verbal cues that they use, like when something is happening that they don't want to talk about anymore, or if they want to go to the next topic, they do like this, like they're scrolling, like they're over scrolling to the next topic. So like if, like for example, last week these two fifth graders were talking, and another girl came into the conversation and she just went like this. So then they switched to a whole nother topic. And I'm like,
what
does this mean? And they're like, we're just scrolling. We're moving on. We're moving past this. Like we're going to the next topic. And it's like a nonverbal way to let someone know that you're done listening to them. You're done talking about it. Or another one that I still don't understand is Sigma, or like these words that are just made up. And like, well, Sigma is a real word.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I was gonna say a lot of the. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying like there are words that are real words, like Sigma,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a real word in a dictionary, but it has a different meaning. That's like a negative meaning. So kids will be like, "Oh, what the Sigma?" And it's like, "What in the world is going on? Like, why?" Like basically like putting someone down. I think, but they usually use it in a negative context. Or like, I don't think that's a real word, but they've made it up to mean something. So when one kid says it, there's this whole reaction of like, oh, like, but I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what's going on?
I was gonna say, because I was with Autumn's students a little bit, but not like that often. But this summer I worked at a summer camp with like a bunch of kids, and like it really is just a bunch of made up words. Like they're not talking about anything. Like they just make up words, like and it's like I almost understand, because even though I'm not their age, they are getting it from the same place that I'm getting it from, which is TikTok and social media. So like I see it, and then when I hear them say it, it's like, how do you know what that is? Like, and that's like my genuine reaction, because like you shouldn't know what that is.
They don't understand it. They don't understand it.
They don't understand it. That's the other thing.
They create their own understanding of what the words they're hearing means.
Right.
Like they don't know what's going on, so they find like, and then they kind of explain to each other, and then it's like, oh, okay. But like whatever we perceive it as, because we're people that can understand what we're watching, they don't. They're not getting that.
Like I can't think of an example, but I know there's like something that I've heard one of my campers say that's like it's inappropriate for like a child to be saying, but they don't know what it means. And like to them it doesn't mean anything. And like I can't explain it to them, obviously, because it's inappropriate and you shouldn't even know what that means. But then like if I tell you don't say that, they're gonna be like, why? And it's like, that's not my job that's your parents' job to explain that to you. But like they'll say like little things, and like I turn my head and I'm like, what? Like it's like genuine confusion, and like, why do you know what that is? Because like, and they do know what it is because they're on the same platform that I'm on, and that's a problem because I'm 20 and you're 6, and we know the same things. So like, but then also, you like it's a really like huge disconnect, because I've had multiple conversations with my campers, and like they don't know who Michael Jackson is, which makes sense because they were born in like 2020 or like 2018. And it's like, you don't know who Michael Jackson is, but like you know who Ice Spice is, and that's only because you're on TikTok and I'm on TikTok, and she's a rapper in this generation. But like, even when I was 6 years old, I didn't know who the rappers were, because like that wasn't something that I was listening to. We weren't listening to rap music. But like now, they're not. It's not like I'm sure their parents are not playing them inappropriate rap music, but they're getting it from their phones. They're from their iPads. So it's like you don't even know who Michael Jackson. You think Michael Jackson is a basketball player. You don't like you like I've had real conversations with my students, and then they're like, "Oh, isn't Michael Jackson he's a basketball player, right?" And it's like, "No, that's Michael Jordan." And they don't even know who Michael Jordan is, but they know who like this new rapper is that I also know about, who just came up like in the past couple years, but like You know that because you have a phone, but you're 6 and you should not have a phone, and you shouldn't have access to the things that you have access to.
That's true. Yeah. So my next question is, how then do we help individuals, these kids, these your peers, with mind care? And remember, mind care is a holistic, accessible, and proactive approach to caring for one's mind, rather than simply addressing issues when they arise. You guys are in positions of influence. Influence doesn't mean you have to be rich and famous. Influence means there are people who you are surrounded by, who surrounds you. um how can you, maybe the question should be first, the first part of this question should be, how can you engage in mind care for yourself, and then how can you be an instrument of healthy or effective mind care for those around. Mind care is a holistic, accessible, and proactive approach to caring for your mind, similar to how you would take care of your skin regimen, your hair regimen, your physical, your teeth, your nails. How would you do that for your hair, for your mind? Sorry.
For me, I did a little rumor time myself. So like I just learned that like I just cannot engage. Like what I said earlier about not engaging really or not posting a lot is like I used to try, like, but then I realized like it's just not something that is like for me. It's not how I connect with people. It doesn't work for me. So I just kind of disengage from it, or I connect in a way that does work for me. I like TikTok. I make videos about what I'm doing or whatever, or my outfits. But like that's it. My Alexa, sorry.
Okay, so my for you, mind care is doing some social media, TikTok, that is not stressful.
Yeah, I have to know my limits. For me, mind care is knowing your limits. Like,
Yeah.
it's also like it's not all the time. I am probably the most over therapized whatever of my siblings. I'm the most like hyper conscious of like where I'm at, because I've been at a low place and I don't ever want to be there again. So I'm like super aware of that, like kind of all the time. So like I think of my wagon of things I can manage, and sometimes like I have just so much on my plate. Like social media is not something that I have time to engage in, like it that I have the mental capacity for. Sometimes it is. So it's just kind of I'm more conscious of that, and that's kind of what my advice to my friends, because I don't really know. I have friends that struggle with mental health and mind care and stuff like that, and I don't know what the advice is because I'm not. I'm not perfect. I'm not completely out of the place that I was. So for me, I'm just like, you have to like know your limits and like evaluate yourself and be like, is this something that, I can handle right now? And if not, let it go.
Let it go.
It'll still be there.
Yeah.
Still gonna be there.
I think that's good advice. I think that's very good advice, because what you're saying to them is be conscious and be aware of yourself.
Yeah.
Be aware of yourself. And show up for yourself. And those ways you can show up for yourself. And I think you going through whatever your struggles have been and your story has been, using that to help others be efficient in their mind care as well, is first-hand story, right? That is like real. You're not talking about something that somebody told you. You're talking about something that you have lived. And those are usually one of the best ways to help other people. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Autumn and Addison, how would you engage in your own mind care, and how would you help others that are?
I feel like for me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like similar to what Addison was saying. Basically, I feel like what I took from what she said is like she has to put her first. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to put yourself first. And I feel like I'm like that because when I think about my mental health, probably the last time my mental health was really bad was when I was in like seventh, eighth grade. And that's just because I think it's because I was in a new place and I was not adjusting. And since then, every new place that I've been in, I've been able to adjust. So like that hasn't been a problem for me since then. And I feel like whenever I face adversity, I just figure it out. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if I figure it out because I actually am like just so strong that I can push through it, or if I just don't ever face what the issue is and like it just goes to the back of my brain and then eventually like it's just gonna pile over and I'm just gonna like just you know. So I don't know. I think with my mental health, I would say my mental health is good. And I think my mind care is the same. Like I just have to put me first in a lot of situations. And I also feel like I try not to take everything so seriously. So there's not always something that's bothering me and it's like affecting my mental. Like I kind of just don't, I just try not to take everything so my feelings, because that's just not the way to live life, in my opinion. Like I just can't let everything hurt my feelings, because at the end of the day, it's just me. It's nobody's gonna be there to rub my back and like hold my hand. Like it's gonna be me. So I'm just gonna have to figure it out on my own. And I feel like I'm very like, okay, this happened, but I'm over it. And I think I actually genuinely am over it. I don't think like I'm just pushing it to the back of my brain. Like this happened and I like thought about it and now I'm over it. I'm not gonna give this more than a couple days. I'm not gonna let this bother me for more than a couple days, because it's just not the way to live. Because if I let this bother me for all these days, when am I gonna get over it? It's just gonna keep going and going, and then this next thing is gonna bother me for a couple of days, and I'm just gonna be in distress all the time. So
they're going to be piling it on.
Right. And so like I feel like like how Addison was saying, she just puts herself first when it comes to social media, and it's like if that's not something she can do or deal with mentally, she just doesn't. And I feel like that's how I am with people. If I can't deal with you mentally, I'm not going to. Like and I don't want to, like I don't mean that in a rude way, but like I have to put me first. Like if you are not like if you're stressing me out and like you like, and I don't have to I don't need you in my life. I'm okay with putting me first. Like if the thing, like it's because like, how do I explain this? Because like people will say like you have to just be patient, like it's gonna get better, like whatever. But like actually I don't have to be patient. I don't. It could be better right now, because you don't have to be in my life right now. So if I need to be better right now, you don't have to be in my life right now. If you're stressing me out right now, I'm gonna put me first, and you're not gonna be in my life anymore. So like I feel like my mind care is just like getting rid of like the toxins. Like if you're stressing me out, I don't have to let you stress me out for very long. I will give you some time, and then if you're stressing me out and you just keep stressing me out, that's gonna be it. I'm not gonna let it sit. Like that's kind of how I was my volleyball situation the past 2 years. Like the first year, I wasn't like, that was not a situation that I was comfortable in. I didn't like my coach. I didn't like the program. I was not given what I deserved in that situation. And I could have stayed there another year, but like you were stressing me out. So I put me first and I left the situation. Like for me, it's very like, if you're going to stress me out, I'm not going to let you keep stressing me out. I'm going to leave, because that makes the most sense. Like, I'm not going to let you sit here and do whatever. I'm going to figure out something else. And wherever I go, I will adjust, because that's what I've done pretty much all my life. And I was talking to somebody about that the other day too. I think I'm able to adjust in new situations because we've had to do that all our life.
Right.
Like moving around because of the military, like we've had to adjust. Like in Arizona, we had to adjust. California, we had to adjust. In Florida, we had to adjust. We had to adjust to not having my dad in the house for a year, and we were all able to do that. So like we were like forced almost to adjust to big major things in our lives from like the beginning. And we were able to do that because of how my mom raised us, because of how she was with us, because of how my dad was, even when he wasn't there, because he was deployed or whatever the case may be. So I feel like now I'm going to adjust in whatever situation I'm in. And whether that means I leave or you leave, I'm not going to be stressed. You're not going to stress me out.
You are not going to stress out Alexis, okay?
I think that's how I do my mind care and how I'm like so like stress free, because I just try not to let things bother me. And if it's bothering me, you're not going to bother me for very long. You're just going to have to, you're going to have to get to do it because it's not going to be me.
So. Right. And that's good. That requires the ability to make that assessment, requires you being able to recognize what you're thinking about the situation, how you're interacting with the situation, what your mindset is about, and the emotions. And so as you recognize that, you understand, and you're managing by saying, okay, here are my boundaries, this far and no further, this long and no longer. And that's a good ability. And as you said earlier, and you guys have said throughout this whole thing, the fact that your brains were not rewired, the fact that you had a play-based childhood, has given you the tools to be able to look at a situation and say, you know what, this is causing me stress, this is wasting my time, this is whatever it is. You're able to have those real world experiences where is you were able to connect with people and know how people makes you feel and how you make people feel in the real world, not on virtual. And that has contributed to you or contributed to you making that decision. So finally, Autumn, is it no? Who was the next person that
it's Autumn? It's Autumn.
Mind care.
I would say, thinking back to how we were raised, whenever there was a situation that arose that was less than positive, or if we were arguing about something or bickering or something didn't go the way as planned, our parents would always remind us to think about how we got here. I remember having so many conversations about, okay, so what were the steps that you took in order to get to this place? How are you not going to be at this place the next time something happens that's similar?
Exactly.
So I think using that mindset in my mind care practices is me taking time to think about how I can regulate my stress, because I get stressed out easily over little things. I'm not like Alexis. If something's stressing me out, it's going to stress me out until there's no more stress.
There's no more stress left.
Yeah, there's no more, just not even stress, you know? It's just the end. So I feel like taking like steps pre-stress helps me to kind of regulate for when I get to situations that become stressful. Whether it's just being antisocial, because my job requires me to be very social, be talking to little children all day and adults and things like that. And then my social media, like my side hustle. Yeah, it requires me to also be kind of like social and present and interacting with people, even if it is virtually. So taking steps before I get to the point to where I'm stressed out and I don't want to talk to anybody, like reading and just sitting in silence, or spending time by myself, or doing little hobbies, like things that bring me peace or bring me happiness, to kind of regulate my mind in order to not get to the point to where I shut down. So that when I get to the place of being stressed, because sometimes things just are going to stress you out and life is stressful sometimes, instead of letting that stress bubble over and like take over my mental health, I try to make sure that I'm doing little things along the way to regulate.
Awesome. Yeah. It has to be. Again, this is why the rumor time process is the core tool. It's at the center of mind care. And so we're going to continue talking about that throughout season 4 and beyond. And
Mhm.
so I don't
But
know. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I want to make a point, Autumn, about. I just want to share. I saw a clip from Spectrum News, I think, and they visited your classroom, and I really, really, really love what I saw because some activity that you had your students engaged in, it's really destigmatizing, demystifying, feeling bad or how I look. It's like allowing the children to learn grace. Give yourself some grace. Yes, so I'm a child, I make a mess, but it's okay, and you're teaching them how to pat themselves on the back. Can you share a little bit more about that? I wish we could have shared the clip, but
Oh yeah.
share some about what you do in the classroom, because you talked about the art room is more than just play. You're doing some other incredible, providing some incredible learning experiences there.
Yeah, so I try to make sure that our space, the art class, is a safe space for my students. Because, like I mentioned in the beginning, they come from difficult backgrounds, and you never know what a weekend could look like. So, whenever they come into the classroom, we start with our mantra, our class mantra, reminding ourselves to think like an artist, to put on our creative thinking caps, and to remember that they make mistakes, they make messes, but deep down they still got what it takes. And we always end with a pat on the back and then 2
Yes.
for our brain, because we're so smart and we're so capable. And I know that art can be a stressor for people who are artists or people who feel like they are not an artist. My philosophy is that I feel like every child is an artist, because everyone has a unique outlook on life and different perspective on how they see the world and how they choose to communicate. A form of art in any capacity. So in the art class, I feel like kids, because they're already dealing with a lot as kids and in a social media driven world and just a world that's very stressful, I feel like I try to remind them that it's not like supposed to be a stressful time in art class. You're here to have fun. You're here to relax. You can take off your shoes if you want to. There's blankets and stuffed animals, and you can have a reading buddy, whatever you need in order to feel comfortable and to feel safe. But I tell them, comparison is the thief of joy.
It
And
is.
you don't want someone to steal your joy just because you're looking over at their paper and comparing colors or comparing shapes or comparing lines. So just for them to remember that, you're an individual and that's what makes you special. So don't ever try to compare yourself to someone else.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That
Yeah.
is good. That is awesome.
Yeah, I could see how the rumor time could fit into just that whole way of seeing kids and seeing people. It could definitely tie into what each of you are doing in your own lives and in the spaces that you're in. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I
so
just want to say
yeah.
I thank each of you. I thank you, Addison, for all of you for your philosophy. But I especially liked what you shared about recognizing your limitation. That is just, it's so necessary, right? Recognizing your limitation. And you, Alexis, you talked about, I summed it up as saying, lighten up. Don't take everything so serious. It's like lighten up. Give yourself some grace,
Right.
and your whole message for yourself and what you're doing with your students is with mind care, Autumn, is remarkable. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's been
And so what
educational for me.
Yes, yes. And so what I want us to do before we leave is I want you to think about some parting words. What would be uh, a word or maybe a short 3 words or a short sentence that you would want to leave with our viewing audience, those who would view this later on, those who are on right now, what would you want to have people take away from this conversation based on your expertise? Who wants
My
to?
words would be put you first. Because
That's
that's my
Alexis.
big thing. I have to put me first. If you know what's best for you, at the end of the day, you know what's best for you. So my are put yourself first over anything.
Put yourself first. Thank you. Thank you, Alexis.
I would say to prioritize and regulate on the forefront before your mental health starts to stress and take over.
Okay.
That's kind of a long sentence, but to regulate before you get to the point of stressing out.
Okay. Regulate. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know your limits. Check your wagon, see what's on your plate and take some stuff off.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Vanessa and Geneva.
Yeah. Sure. So I would say that mind care is personal, right? Similar to what Alexis is saying. If you know what's best for you, you know what's best for you. I really liked the way you summed that up.
Okay.
Oh my. I think I'll just have to say the AAA philosophies that we learned today, recognizing your limitations, putting you first, and solitude.
Okay. Okay.
3 main ingredients for mind care.
For mind care. Okay. Mine is, we want to acknowledge the people in the chat. I should. Loislin says, well, this was so inspiring. I'm truly grateful you all shared. God bless you all. Keith Goodman, he was clapping. Bandy Camaro, follow me all, I guess. Then F. Goodman Jr., that's your dad. Some might say we had a West Indian approach to phones, not a bad thing. Then Kenneth Goodwin says, very interesting discussion. Dr. Bianca Smith Love. Hello, everyone. Mary, good evening, everyone. Caroline, good evening. Loislin, hi, Dr. Larry, team and guest. I am so excited to be here. And so we thank you all for coming. We thank you all for being a part of our premiere season 4 show. My final word is mind care is self-care. Mind care is self-care. And so with that, I just want to thank the AAA, the sisters, and I want to thank your mom. Hey, Anita. And Fred, Dr. Fred Goodman. And I love my family. I love the Goodmans. They are a part of my life. And I thank you, ladies, for sharing and being your authentic selves. Alexis, you are funny. You are so funny. And you guys are doing great things. You're showing up in the world and having a great impact in the spaces that you're in. Keep doing what you're doing. You're here for a purpose, and just live in your purpose. And that also helps to reduce your stress or eliminate stress when you do what you're meant to do. All right. Have a great evening, ladies, and to our viewing and listening audience. We thank you for showing up for us, and we wish you a great rest of the week. And we will see you next month. We will see you next month in October, the 3rd Sunday of every month. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
I choose to only think of thoughts
the RUMERTIME process, and I came across this quote: behind every behavior is a belief.
Whatever setting you go to, whether you're at church, whether you're at school, whether you may be having
I was able to analyze a little bit more.
Bringing about real positive
in order
changes.
For me to be effective, I have to be reflective. And this training
gather an appreciation for reflecting. And I
take it from just something that's inside to getting it in a tangible form, getting it out from.
Fulfilling and rewarding to see the kids who coming and they sincerely growth in them. They became more reflective in their thinking, to see children grow and not just see, but to be a part of it.
What I have learned in camp about RUMERTIME is that it's a process for solving problems we face in our lives.
My stress, and then I begin to enjoy and spend time on the things that really make me happy.
I recommend this training to all age, from kindergarten.
Before you do that thing that you'll regret, or say that thing.
If you breathe and think, you should have this training. I would recommend this to everyone.